Coming up on Animal Cops Houston. A young stallion bleeding from a mysterious wound.
If it's not taken care of, the horse could actually lose his leg.
A lovable St. Bernard abandoned in the heat. Danger for investigators in a house overrun by cats.
You could smell an extreme urine odor. The ammonia level can be high enough to burn your throat, burn your lungs.
While newborn kittens fight for their lives. A Houston SPCA team, led by senior investigator Christy Franks, is preparing for a seizure at a woman's house that's full of cats. Many of them are feral and difficult to approach. She needs help fast.
There's no way for the animals to get outside. They all just live in the house with her. It's supposed to be really bad conditions. And cats in a stressful situation will scratch and bite just to feel like they're protecting themselves or protecting their area. So we have to be careful to keep ourselves safe and the animals safe.
Their destination today is on the outskirts of Harris County, a rural community 20 miles southwest of Houston. Franks is an experienced investigator and over the years has developed a firm but sympathetic approach to animal hoarders.
None of us would have got into this job if we didn't love animals, but there is a bigger picture to this job. We also got in this to be able to help people. If we weren't able to help the animals, you know, and the people, a lot of us probably would have ended up being something like a paramedic or a police officer or something of that nature, because it's in our nature to be helpful and to try to help people and help animals.
The woman has voluntarily decided to hand over all of her animals, but she's clearly upset.
You doing okay today? Gonna be a hard day. It's all right. I mean, we're here just trying to help, okay?
According to the owner, the cats never leave the house, so extra precautions will be needed before they enter.
Even from outside, you could smell an extreme urine odor. In a house like this, the ammonia level can be high enough to burn your throat, burn your lungs. So we're wearing respirators that absorb that ammonia so we don't breathe it in.
Investigator Shauna Sunbird will videotape the seizure as evidence should this case go to court. It's immediately obvious they've arrived just in time.
We just have to be able to look at.
There are cats on every available surface, and it's going to make it hard to round them up as the rooms are stacked high with years of collecting.
This is typical of people that have a lot of animals and a lot of stuff build up. They save everything, whether there's a need or not. They feel like if they throw stuff away that they're being wasteful.
Since her husband recently went into the hospital, the owner has become totally dependent on the cats for companionship.
They're my babies. They're my world to me. They kept me company and they love me back.
This is very hard for the owner. She considers these animals her children or her babies, but she knows she's in over her head, so she's wanting to do what's best for them. But it's very hard for her to give these animals to us. But she's at least realized that she needs help.
There are 20 cats, but she knows every one by name and gives Franks a complete list.
Okay, that'll be very helpful for us. I appreciate that.
This is Buddy.
The seizure starts with all the tamed cats, and the owner is happy to handle them.
This is Mickey.
Mickey or Nikki?
Mickey. This is Buddy.
Brandon?
Kelly.
Hold on, Kelly.
So far, it's been relatively easy. But the rest of the cats are displaying all the danger signs of being feral.
She's got all the ones that she can catch now. They're somewhere in the house and they're all hiding. That's a defense mechanism for a cat. And so whenever you corner it and put it in a position where it feels like its last defense isn't working, it'll fight. So these are going to be the ones that are the most likely to hurt someone, including the owner. So we're just going to take the nets in and catch them. Yeah, I'm going to try to fit it in. This is probably the biggest cat. So.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Let me back up.
That is Taylor.
Yeah.
I need a crate.
Does he got hair on him?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's Whiskers.
Whiskers?
The current total is 18. That means there are still 2 missing. And in this house, they could be difficult to find. A cat suddenly appears, but just as quickly disappears again.
You know, I watched him crawl back up in there, so he's in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's in here. He's going up somewhere in here then.
He's completely vanished.
Maybe he got into the wall.
Franks notices a hole in the crumbling wall, a perfect secret hiding place for 2 cats on the run.
So we're gonna leave her 2 crates and see if she can catch the last 2, the gray one and the black one with the white foot, and then just come pick them up from her later.
It's been a 4-hour seizure, and it's left the investigators exhausted and the owner with emotional and physical scars.
Be sure and clean your arms up really good. I mean, soap, peroxide.
All the cats will be evaluated back at the Houston SPCA shelter. No criminal charges will be brought, and Franks and the sheriff will keep a watchful eye on the owner as she begins to rebuild her life without the cats.
All right, well, we're gonna go and get out of your way.
Back at the shelter, the hoarder cats begin to multiply.
All of the females are pregnant.
And can Michelson discover how a young horse's leg was slashed?
Looks painful, honey.
When Animal Cops Houston returns on Animal Planet. Senior investigator Christy Franks and her team have arrived back at the Houston SPCA shelter with 18 cats seized from a hoarder's house in southwest Texas. All the cats will be medically examined and given individual cages. But if Franks thought the drama was over, she was soon to be proved wrong. One of the cats has started to give birth.
Her name's Tiger. She's a very sweet cat. So once they get going, they get going.
Dr. Catalina Thurston has been called to supervise because Franks thought that the kittens were arriving too quickly and Tiger wouldn't be strong enough to clean and feed her litter.
The most important thing is, number 1, get any fluid out of the airways, get them to meow, to start making noise. Then secondly, you want them to start nursing so that they can, get some of the colostrum that they need. And then obviously dried so that they can stay warm next to mom.
Tiger has already produced 3 kittens. This could have been the first of many litters, but Tiger, like all cats at the Houston SPCA, will be spayed or neutered to prevent unwanted pregnancies.
All of the females are pregnant. So very soon, she would have had 60 or so cats in that house.
So everybody looks healthy, everybody is meowing, everybody is moving. And I palpated about probably 2 more kittens in there. So actually by them nursing on mom, they're gonna help promote uterine contractions and therefore the delivery of their siblings. So.
Tiger's cage will be covered so that she can continue to look after her kittens in a calm and private atmosphere. Franks will check in on Tiger tomorrow, but for now, it's the end of a hard day. For investigator Debbie Michelson, it's only the beginning of her shift. Originally from Virginia on the East Coast, she's worked at a vet clinic and as an animal control officer before moving to Texas. Since she started working for the Houston SPCA, she's had to deal with some extreme cases of cruelty.
You know, unfortunately, just like anything else, you take some of it home with you. You go home and you think about it and you worry about it. And you know, I've cried quite a few times when I get home, but you know, the next day you come back and you do your best to educate and to make them do something better for their animal. I feel like I've accomplished something at least.
Investigators often work alone, and it can be a physically demanding job. Today, Michelson has hooked up the horse trailer for a 2-hour trip north of Houston. She's heading out to Montgomery County. The local sheriff there is concerned about a badly injured horse. The Houston SPCA gets hundreds of calls about horses every year, and Michelson's had to learn quickly.
I never really worked with horses before. I loved them when I was a kid, and I went horseback riding at the stables every once in a while, but you know, nothing like we see here.
Although new to Houston, she's settled in well with her family of pets.
Every one of them have been rescues from my previous place of employment in Virginia. Currently I have 4 small dogs, and I have a cat, I have a snake, and I have several parrots. And they keep me busy, but I think that animals that you rescue realize that they've been rescued, and they give more than 100% to you, and they really appreciate it.
By the time she arrives, Deputy Constable Marshall Williams and his team are there, but the owner is not.
Tried to make contact with the owner of the horse, and she hasn't called me back yet. Left a notice on the door, which was gone this morning when I come back.
First, Williams wants Michelson to see a dog he's also found. She videotapes the scene for evidence.
Hi, buddy. You're a nice dog. Look at that leg. This is an American Bulldog. He's obviously had an old injury to his foot. His foot goes sideways, or her foot goes crooked.
Deputy Williams is even more concerned about a horse he's also discovered. It's running loose at the back of the property.
Hi, beautiful.
He has a deep laceration, which has become dangerously infected.
Wow.
I can smell the infection from the horse right now.
Looks painful, honey. He's got it like right where it has to move constantly, and there's friction back and forth on it. So there's no chance of it like just sitting there and healing. It's rubbing and rubbing and rubbing all the time. We want to try to get him back to the shelter as soon as possible to get these wounds looked at his leg, and get him cleaned out and see what they can do for him. Now, does that ankle look swollen? Is he limping on it?
Yes. There's no treatment has been done to the horse. There's no sign of them putting any ointments or any wound care, anything on the horse. And if it's not taken care of, the horse could actually lose his leg, or of course have to be put down because of that injury.
The actual fencing stopped.
It's Michelson's job to try and find out how the horse had been injured. She searches the property for clues.
And it looks like the horse has been getting out off from under the fence. There's several places. We think maybe when he came through, that wire was attached, and it's come off, and he's probably dragged himself across that wire. Let's go ahead and try to get the horse loaded up. Well,
with injuries as severe as this, Michelson will not leave any animals behind. The bulldog with its deformed paw will also be brought back to the Houston SPCA shelter. Blast from the past. Back in 2005, investigators from the Houston SPCA rescued 16 animals from a small holding in Waller County, including a day-old foal. All the animals were underweight with major health problems. The tiny foal named Dash was so weak he needed to be hand-reared. Stay tuned to Animal Cops Houston to find out how his life was changed forever. Blast from the past. In 2005, Dash was just one of 16 animals rescued from a small holding in Waller County. 3 years later, Dash has grown into a healthy young adult.
He's winning.
He now lives with his mother at the Arvizo Ranch in Montgomery County.
They're an integral part of the family now. I mean, we couldn't even imagine not having them here, so.
He has a huge appetite for life. It's another success for the Houston SPCA. Investigator Debbie Michelson is back from Montgomery County with the bulldog and the horse with the severely injured leg. Waiting for her is Dr. Dev Rahan, who immediately administers a pain-killing injection.
What is appalling, very shocking and distressing is the owner has totally ignored this major injury and left it for the nature to take care of. I don't know what was going on in the owner's mind.
We do have a dog that you'll be looking at later that looks like it had a previous break to a leg that was never treated or set. So, I mean, that would be an indication that they just don't treat their animals, that they, just let them go.
Dr. Rahan begins to clean the wound, but the next stage of treatment could be difficult because the leg is infected and swollen.
I have to make a decision about how to treat it, whether it's an open wound or scrape it down and treat it like a closed wound, like suture it up.
Okay.
But at the moment, it looks really bad. I really need the swelling to go down. I need to give him time for the infection to go away because I cannot suture the wound with the infection inside.
The bulldog seems happy to finally have some attention. He's scheduled to have x-rays and blood tests. Michelson knows a damaged leg is one of the most serious of injuries for a horse. But at the Houston SPCA, there's a strong determination never to give up. The shelter is full of amazing stories of survival. When 18 cats were taken from a hoarder's house, senior investigator Christy Franks helped one of the cats, called Tiger, give birth. The next day, there are anxious moments because she's not producing enough milk to feed them. Dr. Cheryl McGuire is on duty.
Yeah, she's too sick. All right, sweetie. So who wants a bottle feed kittens every 4 hours in the middle of the night? I'm doing this to assess whether or not they have a good suckle reflex, which will be a good indicator of whether or not they will be able to nurse from a bottle, since the mother's not producing any milk at all. I'm very worried about this one. As you can tell, it's very listless. It's the smallest, it's the most dehydrated, and doesn't have a very good suckle reflex. But kittens are tough. They're tough, so if we can get them hydrated, we'll probably give them some sub-Q fluids to help them along a bit since they are dehydrated, and then get someone bottle feeding them.
With the kittens desperate for milk, Franks has asked Deputy Christine Kendrick of the Harris County Precinct 1 Constable's Office for help.
I don't know if this one's a he or a she, but it's trying. Seems to be getting some. Need to check and make sure that the nipple's working well. It's attempting to feed. Now it looks like it's getting some.
These feeding sessions will have to become a regular part of their schedule. And Dr. McGuire also wants to get fluid into them.
Many times if a pet is dehydrated, they won't want to eat, they won't do well, so we just need to get them rehydrated since they haven't been nursing.
The lady that had them was trying. There was food out for them and stuff, but it was a poor quality diet, especially for a pregnant female. And so she just didn't have the benefits to have a healthy birth, and she just didn't have enough nutrition and everything to be lactating properly. So
the next few days will be critical for the kittens, but luckily they've been born into a world where the dedicated shelter staff of the Houston SPCA can care for them.
News Radio 740 KTRH, Houston's news, weather, depend on it.
And right now it's 89 degrees, feels like it's 102. And at Bush, it's 91 degrees, feels like it's 100 with the humidity factored in on Houston's official weather station.
For residents of Texas, coping with the 6-month heat wave has become an annual challenge. Extreme temperatures and humidity means air conditioning, shade, and lots of water are a priority. Investigator Jennifer Francis knows that for pets left abandoned with no shelter, time can quickly run out in the fierce heat.
During the summertime, it gets extremely hot. The humidity is very high. You always have to worry about the animal possibly overheating, having a heat stroke. You always have to worry if they have adequate shade or shelter. It's just a matter of time before that animal will start showing signs of heat stress and then could eventually die from a heat stroke if no one does anything about that animal.
While out on patrol in Harris County, she's been called by local residents who've seen a large dog wandering around, lost and apparently abandoned.
Anytime we get these calls that come in, we got to take everything seriously and get out there as soon as we can to check on it and to get some sort of bucket out there or remove it off the property.
What you doing? Oh, come here. I see you wagging your tail. Oh, come here. Oh, come here. I'm okay.
To her surprise, it's a young St. Bernard.
Oh. These dogs are meant to be in colder climates. I mean, they've got very thick hair coats. So to see one here, you know, especially around the Houston area, it's very, very rare. But I mean, leaving any animal behind, I mean, whether it's a dog, cat, horse, I mean, it doesn't matter. There's no reason for this. It's just I don't understand why people do it. I try to reason with people, but I try to understand why they do it, but I have yet to hear a reasonable answer. I think your whole head's gonna be the size of the leash. All right, come on, big girl. Come on.
The sad fact
There
is,
you go.
abandonment is one of the most common cruelty reports.
Nope, no, let's not go in there. Can you get up? No? Oh, you are one big dog to be doing this. Good girl. Very big, but she went in without much of a fight, so she seems very well behaved. I am bringing in a St. Bernard, and it needs to go into cruelty holding, and then I need to have a vet evaluate the dog. ETA is going to be about 45 minutes. All right, bye.
You see the damage to your horse, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Tears in the courtroom as evidence starts to stack up. And can the newborn kittens survive without their mother's milk?
All right, they gotta swallow.
When Animal Cops Houston returns on Animal Planet. On a hot, sweltering Texas afternoon, investigator Jennifer Francis is returning to the shelter with a St. Bernard that had been abandoned earlier. It's been named Brandy, and Dr. Roberta Westbrook is on hand to evaluate it.
She has a mild amount of tearing and excessive discharge, which sometimes this breed can have, so it may not be too abnormal. So since she's laying over like this, it'd be a good idea for us to take a closer look at her hair coat, which is obvious that she's got some severe matting here that may be causing her some discomfort, to itch a little bit. Her tail is full of all these cockle burrs. If they're any close to the skin, that's probably itchy and a little bit uncomfortable. So I would certainly recommend a good bath and a good haircut for her, and I think she'd be in good shape after that. I know this breed is known for rescuing people, and this time maybe she just needed a little rescuing, but she looks like otherwise she's gonna do well.
2 days ago, investigator Debbie Michelson rescued a horse with a deep and infected laceration on its leg. Also on the property was a bulldog with a deformed paw. Both were rushed back to the Houston SPCA. Today, Michelson is at Magnolia Courthouse in Montgomery County to try to gain custody of the horse.
Come be seated.
The owner is here, and she'll have to persuade Judge Matt Masden if she wants to get the stallion back.
This is the right front leg of the horse, and it's underneath the area here. This is all dried blood and the pus that's coming out. So the horse is on antibiotics to try to get the infection down, so that if they decide later that they might want to suture it, which is what they're trying to determine now, is that they need the infection and the swelling to go down first.
Are you aware of all the...
No, I wasn't.
Do you live on the property the horse lives at?
Like I said,
You go out and feed your horse every day?
My children do.
Your children. How old is your children?
I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
And if they saw something wrong with the horse, they would come tell Mommy, wouldn't they?
I'm hoping they would have, but I'm assuming they haven't.
Would you like to testify at this point in time or tell your side of the story why these animals were in this condition?
He did jump a barbed wire fence. I did not know he had that big one on there. I'd been back there and I didn't see it on him. It's my fault for not checking on my children.
As parents, we have care, control, and custody of our kids. And the control is the discipline that you set forth to your kids. That's why I'm awarding the animals to the SPCA, because I believe they can be better cared for. So that's the court's ruling today. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
If she cared as much as she's trying to show that she cares in court by crying and getting upset, then she would be out touching that animal or looking at that animal. So your first inclination is to want to feel sorry for them, but you realize, you know, they made the mistake and they should have known better. And unfortunately for them, their animals belong to us, but fortunately for the animals, they belong to us and they'll get the proper care.
Michelson's determination to fight for custody of the stallion has paid off. Now, the battle to heal him must continue. He's been named Gordon by the barn staff, and Dr. Deborah Hand can now operate as the swelling and infection has been successfully treated. Dr. Roberta Westbrook is here to help because the wound is in an awkward place and needs to be stitched up as soon as possible.
For the next 2 or 3 days, we have to be really careful. We have to restrict his movement. He's a young horse. He's always jumping. If he's going to be on too many pain medications, he won't feel the pain, and he'll be jumping around, which might cause the tension on the wound. So we are going to bandage it up and make sure he is nice and comfortable. It's a very awkward area to actually stay in place. The whole procedure depends on how well you're going to restrain him, restrict his movement. So if the bandage stays on for about 48 hours, I would assume that you're winning.
There you go.
Good. All right. Let me know if there's any swelling.
When numerous cats were seized from a hoarder's house, investigators had an emergency on their hands when one of the cats gave birth to a litter of kittens. The mother, named Tiger, was too weak to suckle them, so they had to be fed by hand. Over the last few days, it's been a heartbreaking battle. All but one have died, and the remaining kitten, now named Destiny, is very weak. But the Houston SPCA team refused to give up. Deputy Christine Kendrick has volunteered to foster her, but it will mean setting her alarm clock for regular feeding sessions.
So I need to get up every 3 hours, and is that it?
About every 2, I would say.
Yeah.
Every 2 for the beginning and get a little bit. It got to swallow.
He's sucking.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, he got a little bit there, so that's good.
Put her in there.
Yeah.
She's like, you're my good mama.
Kendrick has brought in another mother cat in her litter so that Destiny can keep warm and learn to suckle.
Okay. Now I'll take the stray mom and her litter plus the one surviving back to my house and move them in the bedroom and just work with her over the weekend and feed her every couple hours, and hopefully she's going to come around. Just go home. I know I am.
If you get up in the middle of the night, you need to call me. Call.
Brandy prepares for a lesson, but can young pups teach an old dog some new tricks? It's taken tiny steps, but Destiny is finally back on her feet. And stay tuned for Cops Confidential and a Houston SPCA Quick Fact. How many miles are driven by Houston SPCA investigators every year? There are 9 full-time investigators, each with their own patrol. So in total, they drive over 121,000 miles a year. Dogs of all ages, shapes, and sizes are brought into the Houston SPCA.
There's a big girl.
One of the largest and most unusual is Brandy.
Let's leave your collar here, huh?
She was abandoned and left to fend for herself. At over 150 pounds, she's friendly but a big handful.
I can make you all pretty. Thank you for the kisses. How do you just walk away from a pretty girl like this, huh? And she's so sweet, and even though she's been treated bad, she's still willing to be sweet and friendly and loving and loyal and everything else. It's going to take a while to get all these sticker burrs out of her hair. If you get them out when there's just a few of them, it's not that big of a deal, but as many as she has, it's going to take a while to brush all those out. She's just covered in, you see that, Brandy? And they don't feel good. I've stepped on them a ton of times, and it's not fun at all. It'd probably just be best if she got shaved. It's not going to hurt her to shave her. No, it's not. No, that's a good girl. And she probably enjoys it, actually, because it's hot. And she's a long-haired dog in Texas, so it'd feel good to be shaved.
Perfect timing.
Good girl.
Brandy's really loving all the attention. And with so much matted fur, there's plenty more grooming to come. Starting tomorrow with a visit to the barber.
Oh, that's a good girl. Look at all these stickers. She was somewhere where there was a lot of trees. Makes you wish they could talk and tell you their story. Huh? Yeah.
Brandy's becoming an ideal candidate for adoption. But because of her size, there's a challenge she must pass first.
We have some trees over here, and
Animal behaviorist Melissa Chan has invited Brandy to join a puppy obedience class. It's a perfect opportunity to test her tolerance level in this noisy kindergarten.
So we're not going to force them to meet nose to nose.
Good girl.
Look at Pepper. She's never seen a dog this big before. Here we go. There. Good.
Oh, Brandy's sweet.
Good job, Brandy.
All right, good girl.
Good job. It's okay. It's okay. Oh. Okay, you can give her treats and she'll take them. If she's scared, don't force her. There we go. Oh. There.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Nobody's gonna hurt you, Brandy.
It's really good for these little guys because they're learning that it's not a scary thing to come up and sniff a gigantic dog like her. And she's actually pretty relaxed. I mean, she's meeting all these new dogs, and who knows if she's had this experience with dogs. So she's learning, too, that meeting little dogs, new dogs, is a good experience. Oh, yeah, she needs to learn how to play appropriately from the other dogs.
New babies need lots of attention and all the right nutrients. Since Deputy Christine Kendrick took Destiny home, she's had a lot of sleepless nights, but it's all been worth it. Destiny's made remarkable progress, and although still dependent on bottled milk, she's past the critical early weeks of growing up.
Where you going? Where you going? She does like to sit on your shoulder. She's doing really good, real playful, eating well, growing, really growing. She was basically dying when I took her home, and all her litter mates passed away, so I don't think anybody really expected her to make it.
You can hardly recognize it's the same kitty cat. It's very rewarding to see that she's made it through this far.
Come on, baby boo. Where you going?
I'm getting it. Okay, hold on, I'll get some more.
She's an office favorite and destined to find a good home in the future. As Gordon recovers, he's got one thing on his mind.
Really wanting to check in with the ladies?
And Brandy's life's transformed when she finds a house full of St. Bernards. When Animal Cops Houston returns on Animal Planet. It's been 3 weeks since Gordon had the wound on his leg operated on. And since the stitches were removed, he's made excellent progress. The bulldog rescued with him was diagnosed with severe arthritis. He'll need long-term treatment, and a decision about his future will be made later. Gordon's ready to be assessed for adoption by behaviorists Elise Gouge and Melissa Chan. But a slow convalescence is not on his mind.
Stallions can be a bit hard to handle, especially because of how they act around mares. So they might get kind of frisky. So there might be a mare in season around here, so we're just gonna try to get control over him.
He's really wanting to check in with the ladies. Ooh.
Now that he's tethered out of the stable, he might just be able to concentrate.
The first part of the handling test is Elise is just going to touch him non-invasively, at first with the carrot stick, just to make sure that he's okay.
Specifically with him, he has an injury on his front left leg, so that's something I'm going to be sensitive to.
Now, a test to see if he's easily startled when he comes across a new colorful object.
Not concerned about the ball.
Oh, watch out, they're out there. Okay, so he didn't pay at all attention to the ball, but it's because there are a lot of mares around.
He's taking me for such a ride.
Are you okay, Elise?
I'm exhausted.
Gordon's physical injuries are healing fast, and any psychological problems he may have suffered have all gone, thanks to the dedication of the shelter staff. "40 miles northwest of the Houston SPCA is Tomball and the home of Christine and Michael Banky. They're part of a rescue group for St. Bernards, a breed of dog more famous for living in the colder climates. It's here that Brandy has arrived to be fostered and given the chance to socialize with her own breed. She's settled in quickly and is already part of the family.
And you can see how gentle she is. Watch this. Be gentle. Good girl. Oh, that's good. Nothing wrong with that.
It's a characteristic trait of this breed to show affection and to trust unconditionally. And Brandy's no exception.
As soon as she came to our house, she was super gentle. She got along with our other animals really well. I met her at the SPCA for the first time, and she came running up to me and almost jumped into my lap. And I fell in love with her from that minute. I called my wife and I said, oh, this is one you're just gonna love. She's adorable. Her hair's been cut. Eventually she'll look all like this, all fuzzy and fluffy. And she loves to be pet.
St. Bernards are great with children, and even an animal bigger than them can become a friend.
Come on, sweetheart. In you go.
In the Texas heat, it pays to conserve your energy. Never run when you can walk.
Want meatballs?
Why such a friendly dog was ever abandoned is a mystery, because she's a perfect companion.
Good dogs.
All Brandy needs is plenty of attention, lots of room to relax, and a loving home where she'll be cherished forever. Finding a permanent home for rescued animals is the ultimate goal for the Houston SPCA. And it hasn't taken long for Gordon to attract the attention of two female admirers. Teenager Ashley Wokenfuss has adopted him, and helped by her best friend Megan Morris, he's settling in quickly.
He's gained a lot of weight, and he's got more familiar with us, and he's pretty sweet with everybody. When he sees us, it's like, oh, they're here, they're here, they're here, and he runs.
Normally one of us will come in the morning and we'll feed him. Once it gets cooler, because it's so hot in the daytime, once it gets cooler, we'll come back and we'll brush him and just kind of bond with him and get him used to us more. And then sometimes we'll walk him around, lead him around, and get him used to all the different noises.
I think he's too skinny right now to put a saddle on us on him. It would be too much weight for him. We're just going to wait till he gets more fuller and can't see his little lumps. And then we'll probably put a saddle on him and let him just get used to that for a while, just walk around with the saddle. And then after he's used to that, maybe one of us will get on with the saddle and hope we don't go flying. It's not very fun.
They want to take it slowly at first. The saddle will come later. It's essential to get Gordon used to the bridle.
Rody pretty much handles that
It
pretty
seems to be going well, so Ashley decides to try some bareback riding.
Nibbles. Whoa, nibbles.
Gordon has been through a traumatic time, but finally, it looks like he's found the love and kindness he deserves.